To be determined, Friday show, episode 6. I want
I
to
was
make sure
not keeping tally.
I want to make sure I'm gonna run out of fingers soon. So, and
Well, you got these.
we got up to 20 weeks then, till we have to start using fingers and toes.
This might get cut out.
It
Like it might
probably
just.
will. You got to be real tight. You got to be real tight with this. The surroundings different. I am I'm on gram duty for the next couple of weeks, so that's why I'm not in Mom's basement.
Hey, gotta have heart.
Never, nevertheless, we will power on. Obvious first topic is the NBA. Yesterday, last night, Game 1 NBA Finals, and in a word, Matt, it was very boring. So boring.
Yes. Well, all of Twitter was like over to the scripts B, which I guess is still going on, I think. And this is 11:43 on the Thursday before. So
We had him fooled until you said that.
you just said something a second ago. I thought I had leeway. I thought I had Leonard Way. Wait, Lee is not short for Leonard.
No, not at all. I thought the first quarter was entertaining. The Cavs had life, and I'm not that much of a basketball expert to break down what happened. I just think the Cavs struggled in the first and found a groove in the second, and as soon as they found that groove, they pretty much they took Cleveland out of it. I mean, Cleveland's defense was horrendous. They could not rebound, and they weren't hitting open shots.
I agree with you. The first half was definitely exciting. I know it was 8 points and not too close. It wasn't double digits at the halftime break. But what I really look at is a couple moments. I guess you could really call it one moment because of how tight the timing of it was.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that JaVale McGee, who had another, not a lot of them, but another relevant game in this postseason, and he takes the inbounds pass and immediately goes up for almost a 360 dunk. I'm not sure the exact degrees of it, and then right on the other end, I mean, unfortunately it was at his expense, but he had a poster dunk for LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very exciting in the first half. Turnover issues for Cleveland, but it was only 8 at the half. And then, I mean, I don't like to use cliches. I think I stay away from that for the most part.
You do.
But something I do like to say a lot is in this setting, I say a lot with March Madness, but especially in the NBA Finals, in terms of the NBA postseason. Every game is a season. So I don't know. I don't want to put them under the bus too much here, but I think Cleveland knows that, hey, there is so much left in this series, so maybe let's save our best stuff going forward when they get down a little bit. Because, honestly, it being even 32 points tonight wouldn't have really mattered in terms of the entire series, and especially with these two teams, the fact that it's the quote-unquote rubber match. So I don't know. They didn't really have – they kind of just packed it in for the second half, Cleveland did, if you ask me.
Less concerts, more practice. That is what we learned from Game 1. The Warriors practiced. The Cavs rested more, and the Warriors now 13-0 in this postseason. Unbelievable run. It's Game 1. As you said, every game is this season. A lot can happen. We got 6 more of these things to go. You're just not encouraged if you're a Cavs fan after this. You're just not encouraged by the performance.
Well, it just played into the story that this is a boring playoffs. This is not what the NBA, I guess if you want to say it from a money standpoint, wanted to see in Game 1. Because I don't know how many people are going to come back right in Game 2. They might wait until it shifts over, maybe a little bit more excitement there with it going to a different city. But it definitely was a snoozer in the second half. I do agree with you.
Very boring. Struggled to stay awake. The only thing that entertained me was that my grandmother kept asking if Clemson was playing and not Cleveland. So,
well,
they weren't. Spoiler.
But hey, Sasa Pachulia throwing up circus shots. That was really the only good part of the second half.
That's true. That's true.
Him just throwing up ridiculousness.
Well, and that deep three from Steph.
Oh, yeah. No, Steph, and this was big because even when they won 2 years ago, Steph wasn't as good as people thought he would be. And obviously, last finals, Wasn't there relative to his talent and what he'd been doing in the regular season. So this was big. I know it's only game one, but this was big for him to have that kind of game.
This is the difference boils down to this, and it's very obvious to me, and I think it's just obvious in general. It's Kevin Durant. The guy had 38 points. That's fine. He hit big shots. He got so many open looks in the lane that, and this I saw this on Twitter. It's as if the Red Seas parted for Kevin Durant, and he just had the clear lane to the hoop on a number of different drives throughout game one. I mean, to me, he's the difference. That's why you go out and sign KD is to be able to beat LeBron.
And what I was, I'm sorry.
I was to say the combination of characters on Golden State appears to be significantly better than what LeBron can bring.
Well, I think they still have more depth, and I think that's what will help them going forward. And it helps that you have some veterans who might not be there in terms of the most spry point in their careers, but having Channing Frye, Richard Jefferson, Deron Williams, I think will help them down the stretch. But
that's true.
It was big. It was big for Kevin Durant to do that because I think he has taken the reins in this first postseason with Golden State. I think even with what Steph did tonight, I think he is undoubtedly their best option, and he took the reins on that tonight. And it's his first postseason with them. And he didn't play for a chunk towards the end of the year with that injury that was supposed to maybe keep him out even until this point. I think him just taking charge was so big, and he actually took a big charge tonight as well. But
literally,
parting of the Red Sea, I'm trying to think of what that maroon color, what the official, I think wine, whatever the official color in the Cavaliers book is there. But,
all right, let's
parting of the wine sea.
It's
ridiculous.
Accurate though. Let's jump to the second topic of the Friday show, and I believe I had Tiger down. The dash cam video comes out on Thursday, gets released, and the only word I can use to describe it, we'll go with that theme, I guess, continue that theme, is sad. It was sad. Tiger looks physically, he still looks like he has it physically. He still looks like such an athlete. And the state he was in, it was obvious that something was wrong. They asked him where he was. He thought he was in Orange County, California.
That's what I was going to say.
Where he was going, he had no clue. Or he thought he was going to a completely different place than where he actually, was. They asked him to repeat the alphabet backwards, and he wanted to know if he should be repeating the national anthem. The one positive out of this whole thing is that Tiger didn't act like some prima donna. He was cordial and cooperative throughout the entire quizzing, and the officers in turn were the same and gave him several opportunities to try to prove his sobriety. And it's obvious that you could tell from the very get-go that he was not in the right state of mind. And it's just sad to see. It's from where Tiger was 10 years ago and where he is today. I don't think you could have written this story. I really don't. It is a Hollywood tragedy of sorts. I don't want to use the word Shakespearean, but it almost is the fall.
Yeah, sad's a good way to put it, especially when you think about it's the age of his kids, how close he is with his kids, seemingly to the public eye, and have that aspect. And even if it wasn't like that, someone who was looked upon that way in the sporting world, in the public eye, again, I'll say that, for so long, pretty positively, before all the stuff with Ellen Nordegren. It was absolutely sad. I think that's a pretty good word to describe it. But yes, and you mentioned a second ago, one of the big takeaways for me when he had the second wave of information come out, including the dashboard stuff, was that he thought whilst in Jupiter, Florida, that he was in Orange County en route to Los Angeles. That's big, and the fact that in his cocktail of painkillers was an illegal one, supposedly.
Oh, really?
So that gets added on.
I didn't see that.
I think that's what I saw somewhere. I mean, there's so much stuff coming out.
Right.
I mean, everything that came out in the first wave basically got shown to be incorrect when the police came out with the second wave of information. So it's kind of hard to put a finger on what the actual information is when it's all said and done. But like you're sort of mentioning off the top of this topic, was that really with every day, most recently the dashboard stuff, it's something more that adds to the sadness of this.
And in
It really is such a fall from grace.
It is. And his wallet was actually a connection to Upstate. He had
Yeah,
a card in there from Turning Stone, so
a player's card.
a
Yeah,
player's card, which is the plots just seem to twist with Tiger. And I was hopeful when he released the statement on his website saying this is the best I felt in years that hey, maybe we'll get a piece of Tiger back. We're certainly not going to get what Tiger was. He's 41. Father Time's undefeated. That's he's he's whatever and oh. So you're not going to get vintage Tiger, but maybe to have flashes, just brief flashes, if we could, in the U.S. Open, in a Masters maybe. How fun would that be again? The coverage that sport would get. It would just be fun to see that. You'd feel good for the guy. It's just sad. There's no other way to put it. I'm glad to see that nothing escalated and that he was cooperative and the police were very professional. You commend both sides for that, but just a sad event. So
yeah, but I agree with you in terms of he's not going to get to that victory standpoint. I think just making cuts at this point in his career with the way his body's right now would be exciting to even see him be playing through the weekend and have a chance to wear Sunday red, because even making cuts has been pretty difficult for him over the past few years.
yeah.
I think that would be a really good thing for the sport just in general in terms of getting eyes on it in a time where it's a little bit tight-ropey. But you mentioned that the police were professional. I agree with that. But I just in general, not even with this, with professional athletes, I do not like the fact that one of the tests is that you have to say the alphabet backwards. I don't think that's something that's very applicable. I don't think that's a test that people can do very well, or very many people can do it in terms of when they're sober. And I know that's not their decision. I know that's just something that's kind of a cliche for this kind of aspect of policing duties. But I think that's just it's bullcrap. It's bullcrap in that part of it. And just another very public showing that that's the case.
I listened to a show, another podcast today, and I listened to a couple today, so I can't, forgive me, I can't remember which one I listened to. But there was a former police officer on one of the shows, and I think he's a regular. I think it was the Pat McAfee show. Now I'm remembering this a little bit in greater detail. And he said that most people can't do it sober, and that it's just not a fair test. The reverse alphabet one, which I agree. I mean, I don't think I can do it for you right now. I know we're sitting at almost midnight and exhausted, but
I know I can. There's no question.
It's just not a fair test. So, all right, let's jump to the NHL, which happened on Wednesday. Game 2, and the first 2 periods were very fun. Very entertaining hockey for 2 periods, and kind of like the NBA Game 1, we get a half that was entertaining. The third period, if you're a Pens fan, was phenomenal. If you're in Nashville and want to know what the heck happened to your Predators, and in particular Pekka Rinne, because he seemingly just fell apart. And Jake Gensel is quickly proving to be one of the best young players in the game. And it's scary to think about Gensel on a team with Phil Kessel, Evgeny Malkin, and that guy named Sidney Crosby. It's scary to think about that. It reminds me of Panarin of the Blackhawks from a few years ago. Or actually, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago was his rookie year. I'm trying to think now. Whatever year was his rookie year, his breakout year is what we're seeing from Gensel in the postseason. And this kid's got an opportunity, and he's taken full advantage of it.
It's so impressive, if you ask me, if you come from the Penguin standpoint and their fans, to look at a team that's dealt with so much injury in this postseason, and you still have the depth in order to have a veteran in Evgeny Malkin and Gensel as a young gun, and have them basically every game. It's like, let's see who's now going to be leading the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs in scoring. It's a bad thing to have those two guys at the top like that, and then you have Gensel with another couple. And like you mentioned, it's very unfortunate for Nashville in terms of, I mean, those are deflating losses.
Yes.
The fact that They were dominating in everything besides the final score for the most part in game one. And this one, that unbelievable Harlem Globetrotters, basically, in terms of that score. And then you just have it just fall apart and just so many goals the other way. And then I know he hasn't had huge success in terms of household name for a long time, but Pecorine, it is unfortunate. Those were one of the last guys in terms of netminders in the NHL you think would be going through something like he did late in that game.
I struggle to break that game down, and I think if I had an opportunity to watch it again, because I've only had the one live look at it, Nashville's defense has been so dominant in this postseason. They have dictated the play throughout the Western Conference bracket, and I think they're struggling to do that against Pittsburgh. I think the defense has struggled to establish their identity. The defense, Nashville's game flows through the defense, not only in the defensive end of the zone, but in the offensive zone as well. The defense creates the opportunities. You saw it with the PK Subban goal that got reversed because of the offsides, that first goal of the series that got taken away. The defense has to be the spark for this team, and they didn't do it in game two. Now, game one, I felt like you could take away the loss. Both teams should have exited feeling good about it. Now, if you're Nashville, you're on your heels. There is no doubt you're on your heels. You got 5 games remaining. You have to win 4 of them. That's a tough spot, and it's in particular a tough spot to do it against the defending Stanley Cup champs with that lineup. And if Sid was going to do it and beat him, okay, he's the best player in the game. You tip your hat to him. But it's not Sid doing it right now. Evgeny Malkin's probably been their best player in the postseason, and you could make an argument that Gensel's been number 2. And really, he should be further down the depth chart because of his lack of experience. So, it's an interesting series.
It could be. It's such a hurdle in terms of just mentally for these guys. You've got to think because we have to win 4 out of 5, and
yeah,
tough all home games, obviously, and coming off of losses like that.
The series switches back now. My phone thought I said, "Hey Siri." It's going to do it again.
The series,
yeah, exactly.
It sounds similar.
The series now transitions back to Nashville. And I think if you get 2 in Nashville, it's an entirely different series at that point. But if Pitt somehow steals it on the road here, it's done. Penguins will repeat. And it'll be sad to see because I thought this series would go 7. I thought it would be a coin flip, but I had Pittsburgh taking it ultimately. I thought but by the slimmest of margins, in my estimation, because of how well Rinne had played and because of how well that defense was. I mean, you got 4 guys, the top 4 guys for Nashville's defense that could all be number 1 defenders on many other teams in the NHL. So tough to watch them go down 2 games here to Pitt. Promo real quick. We're going to get Matt Beauvais of WKBW on this weekend. He was at the first 2 games in Pittsburgh. We'll get him on.
Practice stage 2, absolutely.
Yeah, so he was down there for a lot of stuff. We'll get him on. Good friend of the show, Josh Getzoff, apologizing tonight as he has too many obligations to get to for his actual job. He could not join us on Sunday. I guess there's
something going on.
There's some sort of media dinner on Sunday.
Oh no, it's just being sarcastic.
This was
is his team still playing, or the team he covers? Oh yes, it's the Penguins.
Yeah, the Penguins. That's those guys. So yes, he apologizes for not being able to make it, but we will get Josh on at some point during this series. Young Beauvais, kind enough to give us the time regardless.
Young blood.
So yeah, the last one, real quick, Maddie. The Tewaaraton Trophy handed out tonight for Lax. It's, again, the Heisman of the lacrosse world. Matt Rambo getting it done for Maryland. So he ends his career with a national championship and a Tewaaraton Trophy to boot. And I can't think of a better way to leave a college career. If I had to write it for myself, that's how I would have loved to have done it. But Rambo gets it done, and I mean, listen, it's an award that isn't based on the postseason, and that's probably for the best for Matt Rambo because he didn't have a great national championship game. He wasn't very effective in that game. He certainly was a distraction for the defense, for Ohio State had to pay attention to him, but it wasn't the greatest postseason for him. That's an award that's based on a whole on the culmination of the entirety of the season, and I think he deserved it. I mean, it's not only the name, but just the attention that he gets from opposing defenses game in and game out. When you go to a scouting report, he's the top guy. That's number one. Everybody knows it. So
And out of jersey.
True.
But you got to give it. Just mention what an end to a season. So Maryland, that athletic department, they win women's and men's lacrosse national titles there in Foxborough.
Yep.
And then they swept the Tewaaraton. And a lot of people thought
That's true.
Cole Miller from Stony Brook, who had, I think, the best statistical season in all of the history of women's lacrosse.
Really?
At this level, Division I at least. And they went with the national champion. A little bit there for the women's side of things. Well, the national champion for both.
Good to see two Western New Yorkers on the men's side in the finals, at least, in Connor Fields and Ben Reeves. Oh boy, not the coffin thing again.
Oh no, we're good. It was just one. It's one. We're almost done. So Ben Reeves from Palmyra Maston in the Rochester area,
Yep.
and then from I believe he went to Bishop Time in St. Jude,
Yep.
in the Buffalo area. Connor Fields from Miami. So you had Ben Reeves, the Yale Bulldog. Yeah, and he was in it for the second straight year in terms of the Final Five, the Tewaaraton, and I think he was looking at a much better resume to try to win it last year. I mean, this fact he was a finalist this year, and a lot of people thought Connor Fields was going to win it, at least towards the end of the regular season, because he, I think, had the best numbers of anybody in terms of scorers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, your Trevor Baptiste is in there as kind of a different look. And with one more year, I'm very curious to see if they finally give the Tewaaraton to a face-off specialist next year with Trevor Baptiste. We'll see how he does.
It's hard to. I mean, yes, do they have a major impact on the game? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But they just get you the ball. And I get that you can't score without the ball, but somebody's got to put it in the net.
The only thing helping him...
I would rather... This is what I would rather see. I'd rather see a goalie in there than a face-off guy. I think a goalie is more important. So if you want to go specialty, quote-unquote, I'd rather see a goalie, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing that'll help him is the fact that as far as face-off specialists go, he scores a good amount. He scores a lot, but it's that first part of that sentence, as far as face-off specialists go, that I think is going to hurt him. I would love to see a goalie.
But yes, kudos to the Western New York guys representing that, upstate and in particular Western New York. We still can play some ball. We can play some ball. It doesn't matter where you go. So, as I mentioned, Matt Beauvais, WKBW, going to join us. Still working on a bro tip guest, but the plan is to have James Whalen on, Jimmy Wheels. I texted him probably a little late for his liking. I think I got him at about 10 o'clock tonight, Thursday night.
Man's got to work.
He's probably in bed. That man gets up. He's a machine. He gets up and works out, 8 hours a day, whatever it is. So it's probably a little late for him, but hopefully he'll get back to me tomorrow. Make sure you download, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, the actual podcast. Episode 13, we talked lax, and it was a fun episode. It was mine.
It was a tasty morsel.
Yeah. Travis Eldridge of the Lax Sports Network joined us. Marty Nowicki, the owner of the Impact Snap, joined us. Marty had some great nuggets on the short game. He weighed in on Tiger. He weighed in on the U.S. Open. Travis was batting 1,000 as far as I'm concerned. He brought his A game, so to speak. Another cliche we can throw in there. So episode 14 should be good. We're going to be talking obviously some hockey. We'll be talking some NBA finals. So yeah, it'll be a show worth listening to.
Yeah, Marty Nowicki, if you listen to this episode, he's not just an X's and O's big-time instructor. My man actually knows golf, the figures, the facts. He was breaking it down. It's almost like a second analyst on last week.
It's true. It really was. It's amazing to see that. So, yeah, that's all I got for you.
Well, thank you. You gave me very much.
Anything you got for me?
Um, this